Greetings! Welcome to the devlog for experimental build 1 of update 113 of hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades. We're going to start off as always with a quick sound check. Make sure speakers aren't up too high. Wonderful. So what have we got for you this week? Well, I am happy to present the latest full systems overhaul of H3VR, which is our optics system. This is courtesy of one of our, at this point, longtime collaborators, Ale, the talented artist who has built the AR refresh and a number of other weapons in H3's arsenal, who basically got into a side project last year, like mid to late last year, involving making the optics in H3 not stink. They stink in a whole bunch of ways, and that has to do with the fact that both I and the individual who wrote the original scope system for the game don't really understand scope optics that much. Just like the math and the concept behind them, as well as just, you know, the game has evolved technically in the past 8 years, and the average system that people have has increased in power pretty significantly in the past 8 years. And so it was time to do something about this. So I have 4 testing example optics to show you folks what this system is all about. Now I'm going to be clamping these onto a deagle here, so there isn't a stock on it, so I have more control of the forward and back position of what I'm holding, so I can really demonstrate. You'll also notice that my head is a little more jerky in this video than normal, because I'm not using the spectator camera, and that's for 2 reasons. One, I want you to see exactly what my eye sees, and not like the spectator camera, which can sort of be a little disconnected from the HMD. But I also want to highlight like how much more stable these are, even when I'm not like filtering the position of the draw camera, which gives you viewers at home a slightly artificially stabilized view of what I'm seeing. So yeah, so let's load this up. So let's take a look at what we have here. The first one, and this will allow us to see a whole bunch of new features. This is a 1x prism scope. Let's just take a look at that gorgeous model first. I had I modeled this because I actually own this exact thing. I have it on one of my ridiculous 22 toys. So, and I'm actually going to pull open, because I can't remember what I left it on. There is a whole bunch of new simulation present here, which has necessitated a new option here called Scope Exit Pupil Simulation. This will be easier to show off in one of the other scopes, so I'll wait till then. But one of the things that's being simulated here is scope exit pupil, i.e. the necessity of both having you be correctly aligned to the target and being at the correct distance with a given scope. This has 3 settings: realistic, playful, and easy. It defaults to playful, and I recommend most people probably use that. So you get some amount of the exit pupil simulation that's fun, but it's not really demanding and gives you a lot more flexibility in terms of placement than you would have in real life. For those who don't know, you know, who've never used a real-life scope, based upon optics, dimensions, lens sizes, etc., there actually is a lateral distance behind a scope that your eye has to be in to actually get the whole scope view and be able to see through it clearly. This hasn't been really, so this has been like badly simulated, albeit barely in H3 before, but now it's in. Anyway, so this is a 1x prism scope, and this is a demonstration that like the math behind this is all correct, which is that I can pull this up here, and it actually just kind of looks like I'm looking through a red dot. Notice how the target is in like exactly the same position, which means when you're using 1x optics now, you can actually 2-eye aim with them. So stuff like the Ghost DR, some of the LPVOs that go down to 1x, they will now actually give you the correct optical behavior. Yay! We have a new scope options screen with a consistent control scheme for both control modes. It's all button-based now instead of touchpad clicks. And it displays one option at a time, so we can change the base 0, elevation adjustment, windage adjustment, and reticle color. Oops, I need that. This is drawing. This is like this is counting up wrong because I'm concatenating a string wrong. But one of the things that's cool is that scopes can now, if they have sort of sub-pieces, can now actually display a change of settings. So in this case, this 1x optic has, I think it's 12 different display options. 2 offs, 5 steps of red, 5 steps of green, and you can see here, as we move this up, the illuminated reticle gets brighter, and then there it is in green. And we can see the little turret at the top of the optic actually spinning. So we can just go boop and close that. So yeah, so there's our 1X. Here's one of our, I believe this is a 3 to 9X scope. And so this will be a great example of showing how this looks and behaves, some of our other features here. So let's just first take a look at how this looks. Let's bring it up real close to the eye. Sort of thing. We've got cleaner reticles. One of the things that's really exciting about this is all of this is now data driven, meaning that like the actual dimensions of the lenses matter, the FOV that's plugged in, the reticle FOV. So if you're using a scope that has like hold markings on its reticle for a 5.56 rifle, they should now be accurate. Should in the like, there's always going to be a little bit of, this is an abstraction of a simulation. It's not perfect. But unlike the current H3 reticles that are just sort of like decorative, the reticles will now be functional. So there you have it. Let's actually up that magnification a bunch. There it is at 9x. Just look at how much more stable that is. Notice how, because I've increased the magnification, the eye box has now gotten significantly more particular about the distance that I need to be from this scope, as it should be. And I can dial that up to realistic, which is going to give us a very particular distance that this scope wants to be from our eye, both distance and alignment. For those of you who just love, the super detailed simulation, or if you're just like, that's just annoying, I just want my view to be clear, I play take and hold competitively, I don't want impediments, you can just set it up to easy, and, I just remembered. I need to actually, here it is on realistic. I forgot the way this works, it doesn't instantaneously change. I need to update the scope magnification. Oh, okay, there we go. That's the realistic eye box for this, up at 9x. Which is challenging, to say the least. Oh my goodness. Can I even do this? There we go. So, would be challenging to do without the virtual stock enabled or without a physical stock. Or you can hit easy, like so, and we can just have this at any distance we want, and we're just going to see the whole rendered scope view. So this is going to give you significantly more quote-unquote classic behavior in regards to eye placement. And obviously, as I said, the playful setting is designed to give you some of this, but not too much of it. And we're still open to tuning how that ends up behaving. So yeah, what else did I... Cool. Let's pull that off. Let's take a look at one of our novelty scopes, the telescope scope, which I put this in both to make sure that the new system supports really smooth magnification changes, as well as I have set this up to have, what would you call this? Some of the defects that can be present with a scope. So let's, yeah, this should be on. There we go. Turn that away, pulled up. Cool, there we go. So we're on playful now. As you can see, wow, look at that. We can have just a ton of lens distortion and chromatic aberration if we want. I have this cranked up on this scope right now. This isn't necessarily what you would want, sort of thing. So I might just this is a novelty thing, so I just might make it this way because this is supposed to be awful. But as you can see, we can just pull this out, yarg, and get ourselves just a, close to 20x magnification. Does this want to be further or closer? I can't even tell. There we go. It wants to be much closer. Wow. There we go. That is, let's see if we can get it. There we go. Max magnification. Hold this all the way out. Perfect. Look at that. Let's see if we can hit. And yeah, bullseye. A lot easier to hit when your scope magnification number is higher than the number of meters away the target is. That's when you know you have the perfect scope. So yes, we've got that, and cool. cool. Still got some rounds. Oops, did not mean to do that. And then here's an LPVO, and this one is interesting because one of the things that's in here in terms of simulation is the difference between front focal plane and second focal plane reticles. For those of you who don't know what the difference between those are, in some scopes, as you increase magnification, the reticle stays the same size. In other types of scopes, as you increase magnification, you literally zoom into the reticle because of the reticle's placement in that optic. With an LPVO like this that goes from 1 to 10x, that can be, as you might imagine, that could be pretty challenging, because if the reticle looks good at 1x, well then if you zoom up to 10x, it's going to be obscuring the whole bunch of views, which is actually the problem with the current implementation of this optic in H3. The reticle looks awful. So this system actually accommodates, and I have this set to, playful at the moment. This actually accommodates 2 reticles. You can probably see the second one. It's super tiny there. So we're out at 1x here. But as we zoom into this, the reticle itself scales. And then there is a second reticle with detailed elevation and windage holds there all the way up at 10x. And you'll notice that the magnification turret here actually changes as we rotate that. Isn't that cool? So yeah. So just to cover some, I know there's going to be 1 or 2 questions. People would probably have already typed this in as a comment before getting to this part of the video. Some people would probably be like, what if I could grab all of the sub pieces and actually rotate them realistically? So I chose not to do that for 2 reasons. One, I would have to add interaction triggers all over the scopes for each of those turrets. It would, quadruple the physics load of those objects and attachments, and that's already the biggest performance pain point in H3 to begin with, complex guns. And secondly, twist interactions, like precise ones in VR, feel terrible because you don't have any physical resistance to the controller in real life. There's no mechanism that clicks instead of moving weightlessly and smoothly. And so the reality is that sort of interface is not likely to be terribly enjoyable to use. So that's the reason that I've kept this as a UI interaction style system. Oh, that looks so good, so clear. I'm just so excited for how much more tenable this is going to make ranged combat in H3. So yeah, so we cover that, 2-eye aiming stuff. Oh, and importantly, things like and I know this is the sort of thing that only certain nerds will just go nuts for. I think my interface also is broken. Yay, well done, Anton. Does this one show it correctly? No, it just shows 0 and nothing else. So if the UI was actually drawing this correctly, just to give you an idea of the futs of the simulation, each one of these scopes that has manual elevation and windage adjustments is actually in its correct unit. You are either changing them in terms of MOA, degrees, MRADs, or mils. And we discovered just the other day that mils and MRADs, despite being very close, are not the same thing. So it is correct, or will be correct, to the given piece of equipment. Got scope illumination, defective behavior. Yeah, that just about does it. So as I said, these are the 4 testing scopes. They're in today's experimental build. The purpose, and they're in the item spawner as well. They're clearly marked. They don't have a picture of themselves. They have just the scope icon, which will help you find them. What I would really love for you folks who are into magnified shooting is just put these through their paces. Tell me what you think of the settings for realistic, playful, and easy. How do these behave in terms of where you attach them? What's performance like, especially if you can A/B test things on your system, and by doing that, make sure only one of the testing scopes is in at once. And if you're comparing its performance to one of the other in-game scopes, make sure that the new scope has been thrown in the trash and despawned. So only one of them exists in the scene at the time for clean number pulls. I've got too powerful of a development system now, so it's very. I don't know what the overhead difference for these is going to be compared to the legacy scopes for someone, say, running a 1060, and I would really love to know that. So So yeah, so that is our test. Assuming nothing is, horribly wrong with this, my goal is to basically convert as many of H3's existing scopes over to this system as possible, especially over the next week. So please don't dawdle in terms of getting me that feedback, especially if there's any showstoppers. Yeah, because I want to keep this a fairly compact alpha cycle. I'm going to be doing those. Ole's going to be both authoring some new scopes and replacing some of our really, really jank ones. There's a couple scopes that are in the game that are probably not going to get a replacement of any kind because they're goofball or their numbers don't make sense, so the model is just atrocious. The whole point here is to actually sort of approach magnified optics again from the get-go, make them excellent, make them the most realistic scopes that are in a VR game, and I think that's most certainly what we have here. So, and I hope you all enjoy them. So yeah. Well, that's all I've got for you folks this week. I'm not going to even do a jump out of VR section this week. Yeah, so I hope you have fun playing around with these. Let me know what you think, and I hope you're as excited as I am. Hope you folks all have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.